The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 133. Stubble. Steward Su's expression changed. The others might not have reacted yet, but he knew what idea Tang Fan had immediately. The iron guarantee garnered exemption from the death penalty in all cases but conspiracy and rebellion, and that was exactly where the problem lied. If saddled with the crime of conspiracy, not even the guarantee would protect them. Tang Fan, don't you forget that Jian's boundaries are not where you have the final say. Steward Su said in a fit of rage, even calling out his name directly. Su Sui and Shen Si, in order to frame Lin Zhen, plotted the exam cheating case. That's how it happened. Beyond you all resisting arrest, you've also threatened a court official and planned to resist authorities with martial force. If that isn't a conspiracy, what is it? Tang Fan countered. Consul Shen has already confessed that when he worried that the evaluators would talk, he sought help from Su Bin, who told him there was no need to worry, and then those 5 later ended up dead. What is your family's explanation for that? The wounds on the 5 were exactly the same as the ones caused from the previous assassination attempt on me. If you didn't collude with traitors, how could you have supported such tremendous killers? This official even suspects that those assassins are affiliated with the White Lotus Society demons. Why you just want to pile accusations on, not shying away from any charge, the steward raged. You don't want accusations to be piled on? We'll need to search to know for sure, then. Get searching. Lu Lingzi led the charge, rushing forth with the bailiffs. Watching as they surged up, how could the crowd of Su's servants dare to oppose? Their attacks softened, and then they were broken through all at once, where Lu Lingzi's group charged in. Steward Su's face was extremely ugly, and the look in his eyes that he was giving Tang Fan had a bone-deep hatred. Tang Fan kept his hands in his sleeves, bowing his head slightly and not saying a word. Under Lu Lingzi and Su Ming's leading hunt, the Su residence was overturned. Not even the inner household where women lived were left alone, yet nothing was discovered. A while later, they came out of the rear courtyard empty-handed, lightly shaking their heads at Tang Fan. Steward Su sneered. Great. So great. Didn't you say that there are traitors in our family? How come you didn't find anything? Tang Fan glanced at him. Where's your young lord? You did the searching. Wouldn't you know better than I if you found him? The other raised a brow. It seems like you already sent Su Sui away. I yet advise you to bring him back as soon as possible. Scheming to fraud the Imperial exams is a big crime, fleeing the charge is another level of crime entirely. Steward Su looked at him coldly but remained silent. Magistrate Fan and the others were a little ill at ease. They hadn't wanted to come here to begin with, and now that Tang Fan had tasted defeat, reaping absolutely nothing, their former schadenfreude had turned into worry about whether they would be implicated. Sir, at this point, it would be better to go back and talk this over at length. Staying here is, Mil Archtan said quietly. In the eyes of bystanders, Tang Fan had indeed been a bit impetuous tonight. He had come over so impressively, ignored the Su family's retrieved iron guarantee, stubbornly set them with the charge of colluding with the White Lotus Society, insisted upon searching their residence, and ended up finding nothing, losing all of his prestige and making a fool of himself. In front of him, none of them dared to say anything, but they had to castigate him on the inside. Everyone spoke of him judging cases like a god. Had he once had a reputation of relying on such brutish investigations? Tang Fan appeared to have been waiting for a stage exit like that, nodding. Very well. You will be let free for right now. I do hope you all can rectify your errors by handing Su Sui over as soon as possible, avoiding more suffering. Hearing this, Steward Su only laughed coldly. Just you wait, Tang Fan. When our master returns, this great humiliation will be repaid with interest. Tang Fan just acted like he didn't hear, leaving with the others. Once they were out of Su family's main gate, Magistrate Fan had to say, Sir, Su Bin must have gone to the capital to seek help. Forgive this humble official's directness, but even if Su Sui is related to the fraud case, it's his business alone. There was no need to involve the entire Su family. He spoke very suavely, yet in reality, he was accusing Tang Fan of being overly impulsive and barbaric. After believing Shen Kengxiu's one-sided account, he had run to find the crimes of Su family, yet now there were no crimes found, instead staining him with a full-body stench. Shen Kengxiu laughed mockingly after hearing that. Su Sui is a son of the family. Without Su Bin supporting him, would he have dared to be so easily arrogant? If he was by himself, him killing the 5 evaluators is even more unlikely. Who would believe that this matter doesn't have Su Bin's interference in it? He hated to the utmost that Su Sui had instigated Shen Si in committing something this major, but before this, when his son hadn't been exposed, he had done all he could to cover it up. Now that Shen Si had been dragged out, if nothing happened to Su Sui, Shen Kengxiu would not be alright with it whatsoever. Hence was why he was doing all he could to drag Su Sui into the water. Appearing to not notice everyone's different thoughts, Tang Fan instead generously consoled Magistrate Fan. Don't you worry so much, I'm well aware of all that. I'm heading this investigation, so I will naturally bear the responsibility. None of you will be implicated. Magistrate Fan laughed dryly. What are you saying, sir? How could I be such a self-serving villain? The situation of this case is not yet clear. Before the court reaches a conclusion, I'll have to ask you and your son to relocate to the post house I'm staying at, Consul Shen. It'll make it easier to look out for you if you are nearby, Tang Fan said. Han Jin, you will return with him to ensure their safety. By look out for you, he really meant monitor you. Shen Kengxiu was surprisingly easy to speak to right now, he must have anticipated this long ago. At this, he merely grunted, then turned and followed Han Jin out. After his departure, Tang Fan said to the rest, there are still many unclear areas of this case at present, but there is no doubt that the Su family has a crucial role in it. Consul Shen, precipitously repenting, turning back from the coast, is great, of course. If the very rich Sus have conspired with the White Lotus Society, this will be a case big enough to alert the court. At that time, not only will Shen Si get off lightly, but all of you will be commended and promoted accordingly. His implication was that the institutional exam fraud case was a minor one, not on the same level as fraud in a county or metropolitan exam. Even if Shen Kengxiu confessed and Shen Si faced punishment, the results would be more or less the same. If a major case could be solved, everyone would then receive a major contribution. Everyone else felt this ridiculous. You couldn't even get a grip on the Su family, what major case are you going to make this into? With that previous event, they were all having some regrets towards coming out with him tonight, already starting to think of what excuses they would use to refuse the next time he wanted to make things hard for the Su family. Confronted with their lukewarm reactions, Tang Fan paid it no mind, gave some more orders, and had them disperse with their respective troops. After returning to the post house, he said, you all must be tired from tonight. Go and rest a bit earlier. Ming had been sent by Wang Ji to assist Tang Fan. Just because he didn't speak much didn't mean that he couldn't think. At this moment, he had to say, sir, there is no evidence at all of collusion between the Su family and the White Lotus Society, and the deaths of the 5 evaluators are only a one-sided statement. It is difficult to accuse the Su family with a crime based on the Shen's testimony alone. He had thought that Tang Fan would be unhappy hearing this, but the other just nodded. Right. They might have been related to the evaluators' deaths but might not be masterminds in collusion with the White Lotus Society. Ming was taken a bit aback, thinking, in that case, you just arbitrarily accused the Su family of a crime. Does that not give them something on you? What was the actual purpose of all this mess? As I see it, are you using the Su family to divert other people's attention, Brother Tang? Lu Lingzi asked. Tang Fan smiled, not denying that. Truth be told, I hadn't linked the White Lotus Society with the Imperial exam case at the beginning. They can be regarded as two independent cases even if they are linked cases for right now. The starting reason was Su Sui and Shen Si both wanting to snare Lin Zhen into cheating, thus causing him ruin, which Shen Kengxiu has confessed to. None of you object to that, right? Everyone shook their heads. He dipped an index finger into his teacup, then drew a line onto the red sandalwood table, followed by another branch in the middle of it. They only wanted to ruin Lin Zhen's reputation so that he could no longer participate in the Imperial exams. There was no reason at all for him to be killed. Therefore, starting from Lin Zhen's death, another case can be branched out. Lu Lingzi pondered this. Lin Fengyuan insisted that Lin Zhen had been forced into suicide by Shen Kengxiu, saying it so definitively that it was suspicious. Also, we saw his body with our own eyes. He didn't kill himself, someone else killed him. Lin Fengyuan clearly knew all of that. Tang Fan nodded. Right. He not only knew it but he had deliberately divulged it in his words and actions, causing us to pay attention to that painting. Lady Chiao, her chin rested in her hand as she sat beside the table and asked curiously, "You all keep talking about that. What kind of painting is it?" Glancing at Tang Fan and seeing that he had no dissent, Lu Lingzi said, "A landscape one, with mountains, water, trees, a person, and a boat. There was a poem on it, too." She creased her brow. "Aren't paintings like that common? What's the issue?" The two lines of that poem are trees in two rows, a reflected mountain, a light boat rowing horizontally combined to create one word, Tang Fan said. Before this, no one had been thinking in that direction. They had been believing that there was a secret in the painting itself, or even that the figure might be of the killer. As soon as Lu Lingzi heard this, he immediately mimicked Tang Fan by dipping his finger into the water and drawing on the table. A reflected mountain, should be the G radical. Tree, does tree imply mu, for wood? Or feng, for abundant? Feng. One feng is one row, two fengs are two rows. A light boat is the ya radical, and when a light boat travels on water, droplets will splash out, dot. There was no need for Tang Fan to unlid the riddle, as even Lady Jiao had a reaction. Is it Hui, for wisdom? Lu Lingzi jumped. He wanted to say that it's Fang Huixiu. In light of those silver ingots found at the Lin home, Lin Fengyuan and the other party have been collaborating for a long time, Tang Fan said. Supposing that Lin Zhen's death and the disappearance of the Lin's second son are related to this, when we visited last time, Lin Fengyuan was using this method to give us a hint. It was just a shame that we didn't notice it at the time and he was murdered after the fact, with even that painting missing. The other party must have silenced him. I remember that when we spoke to Lin Fengyuan, that attendant of his was around, too. Lu Lingzi said. Pausing, he then furrowed his brow. But I don't really understand. From the start of this until now, it seems like Fang Huixiu has had no connection. The people that killed the evaluators and tried to assassinate you were from the same group. On the contrary, the Su family are much more suspicious. Faced with his fully doubtful expression, Tang Fan laughed. Don't look at me, I'm not some divine immortal. Just like you, there are many problems that I can't figure out. Lady Chiao giggled. As I see it, you're amazing enough as it is, cousin. Being able to infer so many things from one word puzzle is something I couldn't do. Lu Lingzi. What he had wanted to say had been stolen from him. Anyone would be a little depressed at that. Tang Fan only shook his head. If I really was amazing, I would have discovered this back when Lin Fenjian had been acting strange, but now he's dead, and the Su family are provoked. When the time comes, who knows what troubles will await me. He stood. It's late in the day. All of you should rest, anything else can be said tomorrow morning. Lady Chiao seamlessly glanced at her maid, quirking her lips into a pout as she said, Cousin, we've been apart for so many years. You're always busy and we've not had a private talk before. All of a sudden, a hand stretched out from nearby, blocking Lady Chiao's body that was nearly plastered to Tang Fan. "Miss, please have self-respect," came Xiao Zhou's voice, which had been silent all this time. Lady Chiao stomped her foot out of bashfulness. "We're betrothed. Why do you have to talk so much?" Xiao Zhou was expressionless when she said, "Men and women should observe proper distance." She laughed coldly. "Xiao Zhou, are you thinking that he's bound to take you as a concubine, so you don't regard even me as important? You're daydreaming. Every day we aren't married is a day you can't even think about getting close to him." What kind of opera was this? Everyone stared at this act, tongue-tied. They had yet to be officially wedded, yet mistress and maid were already fighting amongst themselves. Tisk, his luck with women was truly great. What luck was it, though? Watching their performance, Tang Fan felt a little numb, only able to put a hand on his forehead. "Cousin, you go and rest too. I'm tired." Lady Chiao dared not play around too much, inwardly sticking her tongue out as she laughed prettily. "Okay, cousin. I'll cook some nice food for you myself tomorrow, how about that?" Fine. Tang Fan agreed, then said to Xiao Zhou, "We'll head back to the room. I have something to ask you." "All right." Tang Fan turned and walked to his room, Xiao Zhou following close after. With a look both full of unwillingness and a fear of stopping them, Lady Chiao viciously glared at Xiao Zhou's back, then snorted and left in a rage. Lu Lingzi, meanwhile, stood in place, watching the figure of the maid that appeared to be a little taller than Tang Fan. His expression was a bit dazed, having mentally suffered a blow. Could it be that this was the type of woman brother Tang liked? After half a day of turmoil, he looked all around, saw that everyone was gone, and couldn't help but go in the direction the two had gone, all the way to the outside of Tang Fan's room. A candle was already lit up inside, its faint light coming through the window, ever flickering. One side of Lu Lingzi felt that he shouldn't eavesdrop, yet the other side couldn't stop his own footsteps and curiosity. The closer he got, the clearer the voices were, and upon a careful listening, it seemed like the maid was talking. "Sir, would you prefer to wear your clothes, or take them off? This maid believes that off would be better." Right then, he heard Tang Fan cough lightly and said, "With clothes on is fine. They've gotten to this point." A buzzing was in his head, making him a bit muddled. After that, the voices became a lot quieter, but Lu Lingzi already had no will to continue listening. He left as quietly as he had come, but dispirited this time, making his footsteps a little disordered. Inside the room, upon seeing the slightly upward curve of his counterpart's mouth, Tang Fan felt exasperated as he said, "Someone running away out of annoyance makes you this happy?" Truthfully, there was no such ambiguity as others might have thought, as it was nothing more than one person rubbing the shoulders of another. And yet, a certain somebody had caused a misunderstanding for no good reason. Sui Zhou gripped his chin, leaned over and kissed him. "Of course, it does." Tang Fan calling him in alone had not been for him to rub his shoulders, of course, but something else important. Since Sui Zhou's identity had not yet been made clear, though, he could only allow Lu Lingzi to misunderstand for now. "You should send people to keep an eye on Fang Huixiu's place. Ming, Lu Lingzi, and the rest have already shown their faces. If they go, he'll know at once that we already suspected him," Tang Fan said. Sui Zhou hummed in affirmation. "I'll move staff tomorrow to watch him in secret." "What do you plan to do with the Su family?" Tang Fan smiled bitterly. "What is there to plan? I can do nothing more than send a memorial stating that I'm handling the case on my end, but Su Ben is definitely not going to let this lie. I hope that Eunuch Wan can help me stave off for a time. Once the White Lotus Society are punished, all the water will recede to show the rocks, the truth becoming clear." Sui Zhou rubbed his temples for him. Even though he said nothing, his intent to comfort was clear. Even though Tang Fan had done this all on purpose, his raid of the Su family would be, in the eyes of people that didn't know the real score, inevitably seen as far too reckless. They were quiet, yet the atmosphere was somewhat warmth. Ever since they left the capital, it had been hard for them to have such leisure time for peaceful interactions, so they cherished this quiet interval. In not long a time, Tang Fan roused his energy. Actually, you don't need to worry about me. There are many points of doubt in this case, but there is concrete evidence of Shen Si and Su Sui's crime, so it's not completely without gains. As long as Su Sui can be found out, it'll be solved. Sui Zhou smiled lightly. I never doubted that much. With wooden expression, Tang Fan brought his hand away from under his collar. Xiaozhou, you should go back. Sui Zhou bent down and breezily looped around him, hot breath puffing onto his ear, his low voice alluring. Do you not want me to wait on you in bed, sir? I can service you all night long, whether you want me to massage your shoulders, or some other spot, as long as I'm alive, there's nothing I can't do. Tang Fan's mouth twitched. Do you know what I'm thinking of saying? What? Miss Xiaozhou, your stubble is peeking out. Putting aside how depressed Miss Xiaozhou was over her internal injuries, the capital was ultimately 1,000 li away from Jiangxi. Despite Steward Su releasing a harsh statement and Magistrate Fan's group feeling that Tang Fan had acted inappropriately, even if Su Bin had sky-reaching power, Wanan pleading on behalf of the Su family to the emperor and causing a headache for Tang while he was at it would at least take 5 to 7 days for the court's decree to arrive here. During this time period, Tang Fan personally interrogated Shen Si, sent up a memorial clarifying each and every fact of the case, including Su Sui's escape as well as all the points of suspicion, hoping that the emperor would give him a time limit to discover the truth. Due to the lack of concrete evidence, Tang Fan did not bring up the White Lotus Society in his memorial, but Sui Zhou received a piece of information possibly related to it on his end. Purportedly, a few days ago, villagers neighboring some mountain at Luling County's outskirts had suddenly heard waves of thunder in the middle of the night. When they went to investigate it in the daytime, they had discovered that there was new cave cracked open by lightning at the mountain's base. Bolder villagers had gone in to investigate, only to find many corpses inside, after which successive rumors had spread about there being human-eating monsters in the mountains. The more they spread, the more mysterious they became, frightening the villagers. Also fearing that they would be held responsible, they had quickly made a report to the authorities. In accordance with government procedure, after learning of this, Ji Min should have discussed with the prefectural magistrate, then reported it up through the subsequent offices until it reached the capital, where the cabinet would ultimately issue an order to either have the locals investigate on their own, or send the Jinyue over. This process would take a month or two, at the minimum. Even though Tang Fan was an imperial ambassador, he was only responsible for investigating the imperial exam fraud case, having no authority to ask after this matter. For that reason, Ji Min, Fan Yuejin, and the rest did not need to report to him. Still, even if they said nothing, it wasn't like the Jinyue would have no methods of knowing this. Sui Zhou believed that this event was extremely likely to be related to the White Lotus Society's private mining and casting of money, so he left half of his men to watch the Fang residence while the other half followed him out to investigate. In any case, Tang Fan put on a show of having Lu Lingzi, Shi Ming, and the rest of them searching for hints of Su Sui, while he found trouble for the Su family off and on, secretly keeping an eye on the Fang family's movements. Fang Huixiu was said to have caught wind chill, and had not taken even half a step out of the Fang household in days. Because of their status in Jian, people were coming non-stop to visit him. Tang Fan sent a get-well gift over, too. It was reported that the one who had come to receive it was the Fang steward, with Fang Huixiu not showing his face. This was quite normal. Had Tang Fan gone in person, Fang Huixiu certainly would have come out to greet him himself, but since it had just been someone he sent, he hadn't need to show up. On top of that, no unusual changes had happened in the Fang household. People still came and went every day. Fang Huixiu had 2 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter was the second wife of the envoy of education, and of the 2 sons, one had married and had a son, while the other was still in school, supposedly to earn scholarly honors. The married-off daughter excluded, the 2 sons' figures frequently coming and going from the residence was something everyone had seen. All of this had passed into Tang Fan's ears from the mouths of those observing. Even so, Tang Fan always felt that something was off, having an unspeakable sense of oddity that could not be dispelled. That was, until Lu Lingzi brought him information about Fang Huixiu's daughter. End chapter. The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 134. In peril. Even though they hadn't found Su Sui in the Su household that day, Lu Lingzi felt like he was likely still hiding out in there. Even if he wasn't, someone of the household must know his whereabouts. Thus, Lu Lingzi kept watch near the rear gate of the Su residence, spying for news straight from the Su servants, hoping to find something related to Su Sui in the process. However, for 2 successive days, he had been disappointed. People came in and out of the Su residence's rear gate daily, their cooks and workmen often chatting about daily life when the farmers came to deliver their vegetables, yet they never mentioned Su Sui. At most, all they brought up was that Tang Fan had brought people to raid the house, saying that when their master got back, that censor would be out of luck and whatnot. Just like Steward Su, in the eyes of the Su servants, Master Su was a very capable person, where even the local prefectural magistrate had to be more polite to him. They looked up and only saw the one Musu land that did not exceed Jian's boundaries, so they believed that Tang Fan could do nothing against them, quite a hint of schadenfreude to their words. Despite his upset, Lu Lingzi knew that there was no need to bother with the limited knowledge of the poor. On this afternoon, as per usual, he was leaning against the trunk of a tree not far from the Su residence's rear gate. This spot was close to the wall and in a very hidden location, where generally no one would make a specific detour to go see him. He was skilled enough to leave before anyone found him, anyways. Like it was habit, he listened to the Su servants speak far away as he basked in the sun. This time, however, Lu Lingzi heard something about Fang Huixiu's daughter. Supposedly, his eldest daughter had another betrothal before she married off, but he broke it off on his own to marry her as the envoy of education's second wife. At this point, Lu Lingzi held off for suspense. Can you guess what they were doing on the sly, brother Tang? Tang Fan cocked his head slightly. Cursing him out for his betrayal. No. Lu Lingzi replied with a grin. Everyone says that he was benevolent for it. The other raised a brow. Oh, that's odd. Why so? The original betrothal had also been set by him for his daughter, that's why. It's said that the man in question was a rich young master from Nanchang Prefecture, but he had been unlearned, unskilled, and took in countless prostitutes before he had even been married. That reputation had even spread to Jian. To make a long story short, he was probably worse than Su Sui and Shen Xi's type. Back then, the Fang family appeared to have been in dire straits due to business difficulties, so they planned for their daughter to marry this man. For some unknown reason, though, Fang Huixiu suddenly changed his mind, withdrew from the betrothal, and pulled against a losing tide. His family that had been on the verge of decline recovered and turned into a rich family that no one in Jian dares to take lightly, and he chose a new betrothal for his daughter. Tang Fan straightened up, expression turning serious. Speak more about what went on with Fang Huixiu. What do you want to hear about? Tang Fan thought for a bit. The Fangs started off in commerce, with no scholarly honors. Even as a second wife, the envoy of education shouldn't have been too happy to marry their daughter. Is there something else going on? Yes. I heard that Fang Huixiu also used to be a spoiled fop when he was younger. After inheriting the family business, his stupidity quickly turned the household into a wreck, and only then did he needed to use his daughter's marriage to maintain his livelihood. However, for whatever reason, he suddenly turned better, his skills in trade got more and more formidable, and he used the money he earned from his business to build bridges, pave roads, and aid the poor, thus making his reputation in Jian all the better. In contrast, hardly anyone at all speaks of his earlier affairs. After hearing about his daughter, I specially asked around about this. "What's wrong, Brother Tang?" His brows were knitted tight, there was no iota of a smile on Tang Fan's face, which caused his entire person to look slightly frosty. He didn't answer him and instead asked, "You said he got better all of a sudden. When was this?" "I'm not too sure, they just said it had been several years. From a few years ago until now, he's changed massively. He should have, else there would have been no way he could have managed the declining Fang family into its current state, right? I heard that when they were at their worst, all of the servants and workers were dismissed, totally incomparable to how they are now. Brother Tang, are you suspicious of something? Do you think that the Fang family was funded by the White Lotus Society to reach the standing it has today?" Tang Fan's expression was overcast. "I'm afraid it's not that they received funds." Lu Lingzi was slightly confused. "Huh? Then why? Has there still had been no movement from the Fang residents these days?" Tang Fan interrupted. "Yes, everyone says that Fang Huixiu is laying in bed. Even Magistrate Fan visited himself and didn't get to meet him. It seems his illness is too heavy. It's good that you didn't go, if he's as arrogant as Su Ben, you might have lost awful face then." "Brother Tang." Tang Fan had stood up with a bang, startling Lu Lingzi with the immensity of the act, causing his voice to stop. The other removed his identification token and passed it over. "Go to the one that peddles candy not far in front the Fang home at once. Say it's on my order and have him gather staff to raid the inside of the home. Even if they have to dig 3 chi deep, they need to find Fang Huixiu for me." The candy peddler in front of the home. Appearing to make out his surprise, Tang Fan gave some more words of explanation despite feeling that time was tight. "They are Jinyue in disguise, there to secretly watch under my orders. You will know when you see them." Seeing that the other was about to leave, Lu Lingzi hurriedly called out to him, "Wait, Brother Tang. What if we can't find him? If this is like the Su family, your situation will be on thin ice." Tang Fan didn't look back. "Don't mind that. Even if you can't find him, not one member of the Fang family can be set free. Make sure to get information out of them." With such explained to Lu Lingzi, he brought Ming with him straight to the county bureau. The bailiffs recognized him, quite surprised to see that he had come himself without sitting in a sedan chair. He didn't even wait for them to bow, asking, "Where is your magistrate?" "Answering you, sir, he's in the bureau." That answer settled Tang Fan some and he passed them to go straight into the bureau. After questioning some people along his path, he learned that Ji Min was drinking tea in the rear hall's rain-watching pavilion, and brought Ming along with him. This bureau hadn't been large to begin with, but some Mr. Magistrate before Ji Min had renovated the bureau's rear courtyard, simply creating a space for the construction of a garden and planting flowers so that it could be used for rest, enjoying the scenery and entertaining guests. He hadn't been able to use it for a few years, instead giving latecomers the advantage. Tang Fan had been here once, too. It was a bit on the small side, yet had a special sort of feeling that Jiangnan Gardens had, lush trees, babbling brooks, and good soundproofing. When speaking here, there was no worry about being overheard. The rain-watching pavilion had been built atop an artificial mountain in the garden center. Beneath the mountain was a small stream that converged into a lotus pond. This was the period when fields of lotus leaves blossomed with flower buds, making a very pretty sight when viewed from above. However, at this moment, Tang Fan wasn't of the mind to appreciate it at all. Only when he saw that familiar rear-view figure did he slow his pace. "Brother Ziming," he uttered. The other turned his head, showing a look of surprise, after which he smiled. This humble official barely managed to steal some leisure time here. I didn't expect to be caught red-handed by you, sir. Tang Fan smiled back, told Shi Ming to wait at the foot of the mountain, then skipped steps climbing up, reaching the pavilion in no time. It's good that you're here, he said. An inadvertent glance over the stone table let him see that there was teapot, yet 2 cups. You rushed to come here. What was so important that you have to come find this humble official for? When interacting in private, even though he called him sir and himself this humble official, Ji Min's tone was that of joking with an old friend, appearing familiar and casual. I have something to ask you, Tang Fan said with a slight smile. Why don't we go out and chat? Ji Min shook his head. His suddenly gained a half-smiling, half-mocking expression. Just talk here. It's no good outside. It was perfectly fine. How was it no good? Goodness aside, Tang Fan was the superior and Ji Min, the subordinate. He shouldn't be talking to him like this. In an instant, those words caused a trace of alert to spring up in Tang Fan's mind. He unconsciously drew a few steps away. However, the next second, there came the sound of blades crossing from the mountain below. Sir, something's wrong here. Leave, now. Shi Ming called out. There was no need for him to say, Tang Fan already knew something was wrong. The stratagem of those several opponents was exactly the same as those that had tried to assassinate him that night. They were likely one and the same. Shi Ming and his group hadn't been able to overcome them, to say nothing of the fact that he was alone now. 4 against 1 gradually landed him downwind, in an unpromising situation. He looked at Ji Min, saying gravely, Ziming, what is the meaning of this? The other's expression didn't change. You can see it for yourself. Let him go. I'll do as you say. Ji Min shook his head. Even if I don't, you have no choice. Right then, someone unexpectedly said from behind Tang Fan, why are you talking to him? Just kill him and be done with it. In the voice's wake, a burst of wind came at the back of his head. Tang Fan's expression changed, but when he turned to dodge, it was already too late. All he felt was a sharp pain on the back of his head, and his body collapsed limply to the ground, beyond his control. He opened his mouth in an attempt to speak, yet couldn't utter a sound. The sound of weapons clashing still entered his ears, getting vaguer and vaguer. No wonder there had seemed to be so few people the whole time he had walked through the bureau. Those bailiffs must have long been dismissed by Ji Min, so that no one would hear the commotion over here. At just that extent, his thoughts abruptly cut off and he completely sunk into darkness. Were time's flow able to be reversed, perhaps Tang Fan might have had a bit more caution before coming to find Ji Min. He might have brought Lu Lingzi or more people, or just straight up surrounded the bureau, making it hard for Ji Min to take flight. However, Master Tang was ultimately not a deity. At most, he was more prudent than others, but that was about it. He was no seer, and had never thought that Ji Min would dare to brazenly attack an Imperial ambassador in the county bureau. Based on the phrase he had heard before passing out, Tang Fan had expected that he would have cut his life short, and not that there would come a time that he would wake up again. He subconsciously shifted a bit, discovering that his eyes were apparently covered and his limbs bound. He was laid on his side in a not very elegant pose, something similar to a handkerchief even stuffed into his mouth. A vibrating sensation was beneath him and his unclogged ears could hear the rolling of a carriage's wheels. To speak precisely, he had been awakened by the noise of an argument. Ji Min, don't think that I don't know that you're old friends with this pretty boy, but I advise you not to waste your brain power. The second in command hates this guy to the bone. If you don't let me kill him now, once he gets to him, his death will be even worse. Tang Fan slightly creased his brow. He felt that voice to be a little familiar, immediately after which he recalled that this ought to be the man who said he should be killed. It's precisely because he's so important to the second in command that I'm personally bringing him to him. He's the one who should decide whether he dies or not, It isn't your say. In comparison, Ji Min's voice was much calmer. Also, you ought to be calling me Vicar Ji. As the vice vicar, if you disobey, I'll have to tell the second in command the truth. Another person bawed. Vicar Ji? You can't even put in the slightest bit of effort. Being a county magistrate is something he helped you get, too, so put on less airs in front of us brothers, will you? If it weren't for the White Lotus Society lacking in talents right now, it wouldn't have been your place to be any sort of vicar. Lao Wu, shut it, the man from before shouted at him. Vicar Ji, the carriage goes quick. So, that you don't get underfoot, please get in. There quickly came to be no sound outside, or perhaps the speakers' voices had reduced, leaving him not able to hear too well. A short time later, the carriage's curtain was lifted, and wind blew in from outside, swirling Tang Fan's hair into a mess. He surmised that his bun must have been set free. Very soon, though, the curtain seemed to lower again. Are you awake? That was Ji Min talking. Tang Fan continuing to feign unconsciousness would obviously not work well, so he nodded. The next instant, the kerchief was pulled out of his mouth. He let out a long exhale. Instead of doing something stupid like wasting energy calling for help or requesting that his blindfold be taken off, he asked, "Where's Shi Ming?" "Where do you think?" Tang Fan went quiet for a short moment, then asked, "Where are we going now?" "You're being brought to see Dynasty. You should be pretty familiar with him." Tang Fan smiled bitterly. "Indeed I am. We're old enemies." Ji Min said nothing. The wheels ran over rocks from time to time, the carriage jolting along with the bumps. Tang Fan, feeling like his internal organs were about to come up from being knocked around, couldn't help but say, "Brother Zimming, can I trouble you with helping me sit up? If this goes on, I'm afraid my soul will fly 9 days away before I can meet your Dynasty." Only after a good long while did a pair of hands help him up. Sitting was just as bumpy, but with his back against the carriage wall, it was overall much better than laying fully powerless on the ground. "Thank you." Tang Fan sighed in relief, nodding slightly in the direction Ji Min might be sitting. "You still call me Brother Zimming?" Ji Min's voice was slightly mocking. "I thought you would call me a White Lotus demon." Tang Fan laughed. "Instead of squandering time on those useless disputes, I have a lot of questions to ask." Such as, after you kidnap me, won't you be unable to keep being the Luling magistrate?" Ji Min sneered. "You're a real worrywart, Sir Tang. Your life is about to be in peril, yet you're concerned with this humble official's career path. That isn't for you to worry about." Tang Fan sighed. "Why do you keep using that tone of voice with me? Could our friendship of many years not withstand a vicar position? What's so good about the White Lotus Society, anyways? Those outlaws follow Li Zilong, who stupidly thinks to fight with the court over money, and risk their lives readily. You had great future prospects, why did you join up with them for no reason?" His eyes were still blocked with a cloth strip, so he couldn't see Ji Min's sarcastic expression. "Great future prospects? You think too much of me, Runking. If it weren't for the society, I would still be tilling the land in the countryside, and who knew how many years it would have taken me to fill a vacancy. How could I be mentioned in the same breath as all of you palace honorates?" When they had separated at the capital, Ji Min's heart had been full of disappointment, but Tang Fan had only just stepped onto his own career path then. Apart from comfort, there was no way he could have given him any help of real substance. Furthermore, the realm had many equal talents, and there were far too many that wanted to get on the golden roll, with too few spots supplied for scholars. Every single year, disappointees like Ji Min were numerous. Some with grey hairs kept rushing about for scholarly honors, making Ji Min not the worst one out there, but whenever one was in the midst of despair, they would always feel the most defeated and most miserable in the world. At this moment, if Tang Fan said something akin to, You're still a provincial honorate, why don't you just work harder? That would doubtlessly add oil to the fire, so he said instead, if you say that, the kind merchant from your hometown that funded your donation into the ranks was actually the White Lotus Society. Yes, Ji-min answered, self-mocking. You know that my family is poor, and them being able to vainly support me for over 20 years is their limit. I didn't pass into being a palace honorate and had no money to buy a post, which was my incompetence. I can't let my family suffer from being related to me, raising a lazy man that eats while contributing nothing, and banks on a hope 3 years from now. But, if I was made to be like those old provincial honorates in the countryside, only able to flaunt myself in my homeland all my life, with no achievement, I wouldn't be willing for it, either. Truthfully, Ji-min's ambition was something Tang Fan had sensed when he had just gotten to know him, but what scholar that studied for a decade was not doing it to make their ancestors proud? To make those dreams of saving the world and its people a reality, one must first have honors and an official place, else it would all be only baseless talk. Being an official was tantamount to being on a higher level. Descendants that grew up in an influential official family, like Lu Lingzi, might not feel too deeply about it, but for someone of Ji-min's background, getting honors was their only hope. In his poverty, with no money to bribe his way into a vacancy and no guarantee that he would have been able to become a palace honorate in 3 years, the branch that the White Lotus Society had extended had become his life-saving branch, yet the same moment he had accepted the other parties present, he had become tied onto their boat. Tang Runking, I'm actually quite envious. I'm jealous of even you, brother Yukiao and the rest of them. Because you all have good backgrounds, good talents, and get what you want with almost no effort spent. When I called you all my brothers, one side of my heart envied you, and another resented you, itching to seize all that you own. You see? Even as a county magistrate, I still need the White Lotus Society's help, while you're younger than me, yet are an Imperial ambassador and censor already. I can't accept that. I really can't accept that. Tang Fan leaned slightly, switching arms that leaned on the wall. Due to the carriage's trembling as well as his arms being tied behind his back, his upper body was numb. Ah, brother Ziming. You clearly aren't that sort of person, he said with a sigh. Why do you keep saying such things to make me misunderstand you? When I just arrived in Jian, you actually gave me a warning, but I was too slow to understand. That was why before this, I still didn't know that Fang Huixiu is Li Zilong. When did I remind you? Ji-min said sullenly. Tang Fan smiled. At the welcoming banquet, when I matched your latter couplet, you later used 4 of the characters from it for a word puzzle. A squirrel behind the branch is the character Li. Was that not to warn me? Since you knew that much, why did you come looking for me? Ji-min said angrily. Tang Fan was a little nonplussed by his sudden onset rage. The one getting quashed right now was clearly him, right? I'm not a deity. How could I anticipate the enemy's foreactions in everything? Even if I knew that you might be referring to something, how could I have known that Fang Huixiu was Li Zilong? If you want someone to blame, you can only blame Deist Li for being too capable at deceit. After all, he replaced Fang Huixiu years ago and has been operating there this whole time, presumably to constantly do business while he rushed all around the country, which was nothing more than a cover making it easy to go out and handle things. Still, having said that, why did Lin Fengyuan have to die? Is it because he found out Fang Huixiu's real identity? No. He simply witnessed the Jinyue's unbridled sweep within Jiangxi's boundary, and remembered Huang Jinglong's fate, so he got scared, not wanting to cooperate with the society anymore. How could the higher-ups tolerate him leaving just because he said he would, though? Right when the Imperial exam case occurred, the second-in-command ordered Lin Zhen murdered, framed Shen Kengxiu and kidnapped Lin Fengyuan's second son to force him into submission. When others saw the grudge between the Shen and Lin families, all they would believe was that Shen Kengxiu used government means for a private grudge, not associating it with the White Lotus Society. Tang Fan furrowed his brow. What went on with the deaths of those evaluators after, then? The Fang and Su families have had some business dealings for a long time now. Su Ben is greedy by nature. Even though he faintly detected what was involved in back of the Fang family, for the sake of making money, he didn't completely draw a line with them and also refused to get too drawn in. Bluntly speaking, he's trying to both work as a whore and establish an arch in the name of his own chastity. At that point, Ji Min laughed in mockery. But how could something so perfect exist under this sky? They could be said to have made their own sins. Su Ben and Shen Kengxia weren't strict in teaching their sons, causing a lot of trouble that narrowly implicated their old men. Shen Kengxia feared that you would interrogate the good deed his son did out of those evaluators, so he sought help from Su Ben, and Fang Huixiu, well, the second-in-command took that opportunity to egg him into killing the 5 evaluators and having it all be done with. He also said that since he was backed by the Wan party, as long as he made a light threat, you wouldn't dare to act against the Su family. Su Ben, the half-wit, had a brain aneurysm and agreed to it. Tang Fan realized something. In that case, Lin Fengjai Yuan's death was by the White Lotus Society's hand. He didn't use you, but the society to refer to. Ji Min took note of that minor detail, some complicated feelings bubbling up in his heart for a time. A good while after, he said, yes. Someone was keeping watch at his side, yet he still wasn't settled, thinking to give you clues. The second-in-command found him out. So, he still just ended up dying, Tang Fan lamented. But his death wasn't completely useless, Ji Min said coldly. Didn't you realize the key clue from his painting? That makes his death too late. Had he died earlier, there would be no such headache. Tang Fan shook his head. How could there ever be such a seamless wall? The truth would always see daylight, it was just a matter of when. He wanted to say something, only to hear Ji Min say, I've told you all that you wanted to know, which is enough for you to die without regrets. Since you're an old friend, I fought to have you stay alive a little longer. Whether you can keep doing that depends on our second-in-command's compassion. Wait. I still have some questions. Sensing the other's approach, Tang Fan leaned his head back automatically, only to find that he had nowhere to run. His mouth was quickly covered by a cloth, the smell on it inhaled through his nose, which made him get a bit groggy. Sleep. We'll be there soon, he heard Ji Min say coldly. Tang Fan had not expected in any way that when he regained consciousness yet again, it would be by a basin of ice water being poured onto his head. End chapter.